Hi guys, in this hair tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you ponytail preparation for type 4 hair textures and your type 3 hair textures. I've got my beautiful model here, Janelle, and her hair has already been prepared, ready for the process. So if you need to pause this video and reference back to our tutorial video on how to do hair prep for type 4 hair textures and also how to blow dry and smooth type 4 hair textures, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go in and explain what it is we need to do for this hair before we get started into placing it into a high ponytail. So the key thing with this, for your type 4 hair textures, you need to know what key products you need for this type of styling. You also need to know what tools you will need with you to do the process of the styling of the hair. So the first thing we need to know about the type of hair that we're working on, we need to understand what happens to that hair when it's dry or when it's wet. This is going to determine what type of products you're actually going to use on the hair. So one thing you always want to remember is that when you're working with your type 4 hair textures, especially natural hair, you need to know that that hair naturally reverts back whenever it's wet. And it's the same thing with your type 3 hair textures. Now, Janelle's hair is predominantly a type 3C hair texture. It does have elements of a 4A when it's dry and it doesn't have any products on the hair when it's not been blow dried, but it's predominantly what we would reference as type 3 hair texture, which is multi-textured hair. So for that hair texture, where is 3C, it's much more closer to a type 4. So even when that hair is wet, it's naturally going to start to reveal the natural curl pattern. So you need to be aware of this whenever you're going to apply any products on the hair. So the hair prep you want to do for our ponytail, we want to create a very nice sleek finish base. We don't want to see any bumps, we don't want to see any wave in the hair, we just want everything to be nice and sleek. So if you're going to go ahead and do that, the first thing that you need to know is that whatever product you first apply has to be designed to keep the hair as straight as possible while creating the sleek finish that we want to actually see on the hair. So your first product you want to have is a edge control or an edge glaze type of product. So what I am going to be using, I've got two types that I'm actually going to be using for the process of slicking the hair up. And that's going to be my Style Factor Edge Booster Edge Control product and also my Mixed Chicks Slick Styling Tamer as well. So both of these, they're great products to use. They each have a slightly different consistency. The Edge Booster by Style Factor is a little bit more on the softer side and it's got a little bit of a lighter hold, whereas the Mixed Chicks gives me a little bit more of a stronger hold in the hair as well. So you want to have good products that you can actually use that are not going to cause the hair to revert back. So this is going to actually work as our main product for this type of styling. So we know that whenever we're going to slick anyone's hair up, we're likely going to need to use some hair gel. If you go ahead and apply hair gel on the hair as it is, what's going to happen is that it will still create the hold that we want, but because the gel itself is going to wet the hair down, we will start to see that wave coming back through the hair, which is what we don't want to see in the hair. So the first thing we want to put on the hair is going to be our edge control product. This is going to work as a barrier between the hair and the gel that you're going to apply at the end of the styling process. So that is going to literally stop the hair from reverting back. So in some instances, you might just end up just using the edge control product without having to use any gel and maybe using like a finishing spray. So I'm going to be using my edge control product. I am going to be applying a gel and I will be using the Schwarzkopf Got to Be Glued styling gel. I'll probably use a very small amount because of the amount of edge control I'm actually going to be applying on the hair during the process of styling the hair. And once I've done that, if I feel that the hair needs a little bit more extra hold to it, I might use a spray just to create a bit more hold. And for my spray, I'm going to be using my L'Oreal spray, which is this one here. So this is the spray I'll be using. So this has quite a very strong hold. It's a very strong holding spray. So again, I'll probably use a very small amount. I'll emphasize that it's not necessary that you use any holding spray unless you feel that the hair requires it. Maybe, for example, you're going to create a sleek ponytail and the person's going to wear this for maybe a week. So for that reason, I'll probably use a little bit more strong holding product because we want that hair to stay sleek for a long period of time. Or maybe you're creating this look and you're a session stylist and you're working on a fashion show, for example, and your brief is to create a very high, sleek, holding ponytail. So for that one, it's likely that the model is only going to wear it for that night and then it's going to be taken out. So I wouldn't feel the need to apply any holding sprays in the hair, unless it's the type of hair that you feel that maybe we need that extra product on there. So there will be scenarios where you will determine what exactly you need, but the key product that I want to emphasize is your edge control product, especially for your type 4 hair texture. So any of your type 4 hair texture, whether it's natural or it's chemically processed, I always recommend that you use your edge control product, and that will do that for you. So whenever I teach this and I'm asking students what they think they would actually apply on the hair, some people reference maybe a wax or maybe like a cream. But remember, Afro hair texture is kinky coiled. Even if you put like a pomade, the pomade is not strong enough to create the sleek hold that we need. Even if you put a wax, the wax might be a little bit too oily, so it's not going to really work if the hair is natural. So I'm talking about hair that's not being chemically processed. But if the hair has been relaxed, then there might be instances where you could use a wax or a pomade and it might work. But in my own experience, I've always found that it doesn't really hold, so I always go more for the edge control product. Now for your type 3 hair texture, if the hair texture is more closer to a 3A and a 3B, you might be able to go in maybe with a gel without the hair reverting back. It depends on the tightness or the looseness of the curl pattern. So this is where it's important to understand your hair texture, understand the hair that you're working on, so you can make a right informed decision in regards to what products you want to actually put on the hair itself. So those are my main products that I'm going to be using. And then for the hair itself, in terms of tying up the hair, I prefer to use, this is like a very thin, stretchy, it's kind of like a string, but it's elasticated. You have the option of either using a bungee. I've not personally found that the bungee really works very well. So that's the long elasticated attachment that we use with the slight hooks on the ends, for anyone who's familiar with that. For some of you, you might not be necessarily aware of that, or maybe you've never used it before, but that is something that is used a lot when we also tie hair up. I think maybe it can work a lot, especially if you're working with Caucasian and Asian hair textures, because the hair is relatively quite sleek and straight anyway. But with your Afro hair textures, I find that I need something that I can really control the tension that I'm applying to the process of tying the hair. So I got this here from a hair shop. Where did I get this? I got this from Pax Superstores. So it's not very expensive. So you can get this even online. If you go on Amazon and type it, it might come up. I can't tell you what name you type up. You can type in elasticated string and see what comes up. So this is what I actually got. So you can determine what length you want to work with. And then because it stretches, you can even cut it so it doesn't have to be very long. But I just find that this works best for me. So this is what I'm actually going to be using. And then I just dropped it. This is what I'm actually going to be using for the process of styling the hair. And I'm not going to be using it as long as this. I'm actually going to cut that. Okay. So once I've established what I'm using for tying the hair, another thing I want to know is what tools you might want to use. So we will need a combination of combs. We're going to need some brushes to ensure that we can just brush through and comb the hair and keep everything in place. So I have a combination of combs. I have my cutting comb, which also works as a styling comb. So I'm going to start with the wider side, and then I'll eventually go down to the smaller side of the comb. So you want to have a combination of combs that are slightly wide and small at the same time. I will also be using my pintail comb, because the stage of slicking the hair, you want to start off with a wider comb, which will help you to brush the hair into position as you start applying your products. And as you continue to brush and apply products, eventually you want to get to a stage where you can just go in with a very small, thin comb, which will be like your pintail comb. That will help to create that sleek finish that we want in the hair. And for your brushes, you want to have one of these double-sided boa Bristol brush. So you've got the softer side of the brush, and then you've got the harder side of the brush as well. Again, the softer side, we're probably going to use that to, create the finish and the last part of the brushing down of the hair while we apply maybe the gel, if that's what we're going to put on the hair as well. And then the harder side, we can also use that to help us to really brush and get that hair to be very sleek as possible. Okay, so those are your key tools that you need in terms of the process of slicking the hair up. And the last thing I just want to know is that if you do your blow dry very well, get that hair as smooth as you can, it's going to help you with the process. Sometimes if the hair is very tightly coiled and we blow dry, it might not create the the flat finish that we want from a blow dry. So if you feel that it's necessary for you to run that hair over with some straighteners to help to get that straight finish, then you can do that, because the straighter the hair is, it's likely going to save you more time and less product that you really need to apply and work into that hair, because the hair is relatively already straight already. So it makes the process of applying the products quite straightforward. But I'm sure as you start to learn how to do this, you will figure it out as a stylist. We get to a point where we know what we're using, we know the process, we figure out ways that work best for us, and we have shortcuts of doing things to get that work done as quick and as efficient as possible. So I will be demonstrating for you guys how to do this process, and I'm just going to go ahead and start the process now. So I'll start by just combing a hair, getting that hair into position as to where I want it, whether it's going to be a high ponytail or it's going to be a low ponytail. And then I'll start working my products in and then doing a combination of the brushing. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now.